Everyone. I have been given this very basic talk to speak on the screening and investigations in diabetic retinopathy. Dr. Sanjay has already deliberated on the screening, what they do in UK. Now I will be telling you how we do in India. I will just touch it basically and then we'll move on to the basic investigations that we do. So in diabetic screening, we have two set population. One is who are already a known diabetics. It is always better to collaborate with the physicians and the diabetologists who already have a good patient base at their own clinics. We can put up machines and we can screen the patient there, and those who have diabetic retinopathy, we can then just call them at our own clinics and then treat them. Other group is a general patient who don't know whether they are having diabetes or not. In those patients, we collaborate or associate with the NGOs, Lions and the Rotary clubs and do the screenings at their places or at the places where the patients are comfortable to come. What basically we need to tell the patients? We need to tell them that what we are interested in to see how the diabetes has affected the back part of your eye, which is retina, because they usually don't know what we are going to check, what we are going to see, why they don't see. So one of the strategies is to organize screening camps. We go there, we take the nurses, we take the staff, we just go dilate as Dr. Sanjay has already shown. We check the sugars, we take the diabetologist along with us, we go to the place of the patient, and this is how a flow chart which works. We just register the patient, either the patient is diabetic, then we can directly just go to the eye checkup, and the patient is not known diabetic, then we just check the RBS or lately the HbA1c, and then we do a thorough comprehensive dilated eye examination. If the patient is having diabetic retinopathy, we send the patient to a counselor who then counsels the patient and refer to a higher center for management. If there is no diabetic retinopathy, we tell the patient to have a regular follow-ups. The manpower required for these kind of camps usually either a doctor or a trained staff or trained nurse, an ophthalmic nurse who can dilate the patient, who can check the BP, who can check the sugars, an optometrist to check the vision. A patient counselor is very important part of this camp, because if we don't counsel the patient well, whatever we do goes waste. A coordinator to coordinate and a driver to take all us together there. The other important concept of these screening camps are now the teleophthalmology. It can be done two ways. One is either along with the collaboration with the diabetologist, we can put up the fundus cameras there, have the technician there who can take the photographs, send the patient photographs to the graders, or we take these kind of vans, specialized vans where we do have a fundus camera, the slit lamps and all, where a trained photographer goes, we take the photographs, send it through various tie-ups with the agencies or lately with the WhatsApp and all, to a center where these photographs are then graded, and then patients are guided then and there whether they need an urgent referral or they need to see the diabetologist, or just they can just be followed up. This is how basically our screening works, either through the camps or through the photographer at the diabetologist, or we go to the patient where the patient cannot come to a higher center. Moving on to the investigation, there are two types of investigations basically we do in a diabetic patient. One are the systemic investigations, in which we usually do HbA1c, serum lipid profile, urea creatinine, ECG, blood pressure, hemoglobin and urine routine. All these investigations are important because we all know that all these affect the progression of the diabetic retinopathy. Other investigations are the local investigations, where we have three very important investigations, one of which is OCT, which has become the hallmark of this basic investigation now in diabetic patients. In this, we just try to see what kind of things we need to look into and how they are important. That I will come later on. Second most important investigation is the angiography, where we inject a dye into the patient arm. We see the flow of dye and how it leaks out and what all things we need to look into it. Third important investigation is the ultrasound, which is usually used in the patient which have a media opacity or vitreous hemorrhage, just to see how the retina is behaving. So what all things I have to look into the OCT. So OCT, whenever we are suspecting a macular edema or the vision is not correlating with the findings in the retina, we just do the scans just to see whether what kind of edema is there, whether there is any traction, whether there is any ERM. Now in the era of VEGF, these classification of CME, diffuse thickenings or serous detachment hardly matters, but still it is important just to prognosticate and then follow up the patients. Here you can see the CME. all the cystic spaces there in the retina, and along with this there is a small ERM there over the retina. This is a type of thickening which you can see in which the retina is diffusely thickened. And the third important type of finding is a serous detachment, which usually we see in a patients which are either having hypertensive retinopathy along with diabetic retinopathy or having a renal compromise. But more often than not, we can find all these findings or any two or three of them in every single patient, where you can have the serous detachment, the CMEs along with the diffuse thickening of the retina. Another crucial point in the OCT is to decipher whether there is any tractional part in the retina, because if there is traction in the retina, the anti-VEGF won't work. In these kind of cases, we need to go surgically in and we have to remove these tractions for the vision to improve. What we have to look into the angiographies. In angiographies, we basically look whether the macular ischemia is there is a lack of blood supply in the macula, what types of leaks are there, or whether there is peripheral ischemia or neovascularization. Here is a picture where you can see that there is edema, but along with the edema, the lack of blood supply or macular ischemia in this area. Of course, we will have to tell the prognosis to the patient, because prognosis in these cases are not very good. Now coming on to the types of leak, we have three types. This leak, there is this focal type of leak, which is amenable to treatment only with the focal kind of laser, so we don't really need anti-VEGF to treat. Then there are CMEs where there is a leakage and a flower petal pattern in this. And third is a type of leakage where the diffuse leak in the late phases, where of course we will have to treat with the injections. Now in cases with the high risk PDR, we need to see these ischemia part, their lack of blood supply in these areas and the neovascularization on the disc and elsewhere, as you can see in these two photographs. So this is how angiography helps us in managing or in deciding the protocol of the treatment. As I told you, ultrasound is usually required in the cases where there are media opacities or there are hemorrhages. In the ultrasound, we have to see whether there is just hemorrhages or there are traction along with these hemorrhages. So if the tractions are found along with this, we can't wait for the hemorrhage to clear on its own, and we have to intervene surgically, go in and remove it and treat these tractions. So these are the pictures. Again, we are showing these different tractions and how they modify our treatment protocols. I have few cases lined up, Dr. Hitesh. If you want, I can proceed, or I can stop it here. 1 minute. There are few representative cases where we will show how this patient presents and what all we can do. You can tell me, Dr. Hitesh, when to stop it. Stop it. So these are mild NPDR case, 6/6 vision. We basically don't need to do much. We just need to investigate. Systemic investigation need to be done, and no angiographies or OCT is really required in these kind of cases. But with the cases when there is a vision less than 6/6, even in a mild NPDR case, it is important to go in and see what is happening, why the vision is less. So more often than not, when we do the OCT, you will find these kind of lesions, these kind of swellings. And if the vision is less and the patient is bothered, we need to treat it. Similarly, in cases with moderate NPDR, vision is not 6/6. On clinical examination, the macula seems to be fine. Again, if we go and see, you are surprised to see a huge swelling, these kind of swellings there in the retina, and which obviously needs anti-VEGF treatments. And again, the same kind of cases here. Obviously, there is a CSME and there is a lot of hard exudates. Here again, it is important to investigate the patient systemically as well, just to see what is the level of the lipids. And if the level of the lipids are high, we need to start them on the anti-lipid agents also. Stop it. Show me one last slide. This is the case of an advanced PDR with macular TRD. Now here it is important, before we intervene, just to see how the angiography is. If there is this, and often we find that there is a lot of ischemia all around it, and patient will not be having any benefit of treating all this, going and doing the all kind of advanced surgeries, and patient is not going to be benefited in this. Sometimes we often land up in finding a patient which is having an asymmetric diabetic retinopathy, in which the diabetic retinopathy is more pronounced in one of the eye and less in the other eye. Here another important investigation that we should go and look into is the cardiac profile. Often we need to do the carotid Doppler just to see whether there is a blood insufficiency going into one of the eyes, and more often than not we find that yes, there are some cardiac lesions or the insufficiency of the blood supply that is causing these asymmetric presentations, apart from doing routine OCT analysis. Thank you.